Hello there, it's Nina here with Walla Stamping. Thank you for stopping by my craft room today. I'm going to be sharing this card with you, and this is the fourth of the cards from my Mother's Day series. Now on this one, we're going to be doing a little bit of watercoloring, some basic layering, and of course, y'all know that I love anything that glitters, so I've got a little bit of Stella in here, but it's subtle, so if you're not a glittery person, I still think you're going to enjoy making this card. And if you've never watercolored before, this technique that I'm going to be sharing with you is a very loose, don't have to stay inside the lines, kind of a watercoloring effect. So even if you're not a colorer at heart, you're going to like this card. Now, I had a list of all of the supplies that I'm using, along with the measurements of everything that I've got here right at the beginning of this video, and I'm also going to have it at the end, and I'll have a list of the supplies listed down below the video in the description box. And when you go over to my blog to get the directions for how to create this card, there will be a list of everything there as well. And of course, you can always shop with me at my online store, which is wallastamping.com/order-SU. So what I'm starting out with here is a card base of Whisper White thick cardstock, and this is 8.5 by 5.5, and I've just scored it and folded it at 4 1/4. Then I have a matting piece that's old olive. This is cut to 5 by 3, or 5 1/4 by 4, excuse me. Then I have a piece of watercolor paper. This is cut to 5 by 3 3/4. Then for this portion of the card right here, basic black 3 5/8 by 2 1/8, old olive 3 1/2 by 2, and whisper white 1 7/8 by 3 3/8. I'm also going to be using one of my favorite ribbons, and this is the Pear Pizzazz shimmer ribbon. The stamp sets that I'm using today, I'm actually using 2. For this card, I wanted a really large foliage background, so I decided that I was going to go with the Remarkable You stamp set, and this is actually a 2-box set. The stamps in here are really large, and I love it, and that was what I was after for this card. You would really enjoy using this stamp set because the size of the images, it doesn't take a lot of stamping to fill up a background, especially if you want to make your own designer paper. Then, of course, from the Occasions catalog, A Mother's Flair. Love this stamp set. I really like how the fonts are intermingled with one another. That just really speaks to me. This is a great set if you would enjoy making your own Mother's Day cards. One of the things that I'm loving about this card today is the fact that it doesn't require any big shot work at all or any punches. All you need is your Stampin' Trimmer to cut out the pieces that are going to go on this card. And then what I've done with my basic black and my old olive here is I just wanted a very, very small border of this basic black around my old olive, so I cut it so that there would only be 1/8 of an inch difference between the two sizes. Let's see if I can't get that lined up nice and straight. There we go. So these two are done now, out of the way. I'm going to pop them right over there. Let's go ahead and get our stamping done and our watercoloring done. So I've got my watercolor paper. So what I'm going to do is take my large leaf image here and my Pear Pizzazz ink. I'm going to get that inked up in here, and I'm just going to stamp all over this paper and create my own designer series paper. Now right here, there is a little bit of a naked spot, but I'm not going to worry about it because I feel that once I get my matting and my sentiment on there, it will cover that up. Alrighty. Well, actually, I don't need to put this away just yet. I'm going to leave that out, get out my Always Artichoke, and get out some crushed curry. I'm going to be using our aqua painter here. These are awesome. They come in a set of 2. The difference between them is one brush is a little bit larger than the other, and all you have to do to get water in the barrel is just take that off, put a little water in there, and you are good to go. So I'm going to start out with my Old, or actually this is Pear Pizzazz. Sorry about that. Old Olive was a little bit darker than what I wanted to use. So I'm just making my paint very soupy here. And as I was saying that, I want this to be very loose. I don't want to worry about being super neat with it. If I get outside the lines, I'm perfectly okay with that. That's the look that I'm going for. So this is what I was saying. If you're not a person that normally does watercoloring, this is a great card for you to make because you don't have to worry about being perfect. The look that we're going for here is very loose and not perfect. All right, let me wipe off my brush here. The next thing I'm going to do is pick up some of this Always Artichoke. This is a really dark green, but I truly do like it for certain projects, and this is one that I like. Now, I'm imagining my light source is coming down from the top here. So what I'm going to do is take this, and actually, I really need to get some more ink in there. This is not quite dark enough, so I'm just going to dry that out with my old shop rag. Close that, and this is how you get ink into the lid. You just close your ink pad, give it a squeeze in the middle, and it will deposit ink in that lid for you, and then you can just use this as your paint palette. So now I think I'm cooking with gas now. I've got some color. So I'm just going to come in here and add it just sort of haphazardly in the bottoms of the leaves where I feel like I would want to create some shadows because my light source is coming from above. And with this, I'm not being perfect either. I'm just throwing it on there. Then I'll stand back and look and see if there's anything that I missed, or if I want to add a little more dark here and there, then I can just go back with that and add some in wherever I feel like I might want it to be. That is good for me. I'm going to clean my brush off, and then I'm going to come in here, and some of those harsh lines, I'm just going to take just some of the water in my aqua painter and just smooth those out just a little bit. Now, this is where my leaves are going to get a little kiss of sunshine. I'm going to squeeze that pad, get some ink in there, get this one nice and soupy, just like I did with the other two. Then where my light source is coming in from the top, I'm just going to add a little bit of this crushed curry. Just give it a little kiss of sun. Just like I did before, I'm going to clean the color out of that. Just come back in here with just some moisture off my brush and kind of blend in a little bit of those raw edges from that crushed curry. I'm going to use my great big floral image and my crushed curry. I'm going to get my flower inked up in there really well. Then what I'm going to do is stamp off on here twice. And the second time I stamp off, I'm really going to concentrate more on stamping off the ink from the stem rather than the flower, because I don't know if you can tell on camera, but there's a couple of areas in that flower that will come out just slightly darker if you don't concentrate on stamping off all that color there. And I did make a little boo-boo right there. Do you see that? And I do not like that, so I'm going to restamp this one more time. Let me get this inked up. So I'm going to stamp off over here once and then do it a second time, but I'm almost going to do a rocking motion so that there will be some parts of my flower that are darker than others. I just think that looks really cool, and I like the effect that it gives. So now I'm going to bring in my Misty, and I'm so excited, y'all. I got my email from Stampin' Up! Telling me that my Stamparatus is in, and they're going to be mailing it out to me. Ah, so excited. All right, I'm going to dry the water out of the lid of this because I don't want to be dripping that soupy ink anywhere. I'm going to ink up my sentiment. And the reason I'm using my Misty is because sometimes with stamps like this, I cannot get them stamped straight to save my life. So I like using a stamp positioning tool to give me a hand. And it allows me to stamp it twice so that I can get a darker image. It's a win-win situation. Pop that, oops, on top of my other matted piece. All right. Then I'm going to take this. I almost forgot my Wink of Stella. Now, this is how I get the color into my brush rather than squeezing it, because every time I squeeze it, I always end up getting a mess on my hands. So I just shake that sparkle down, just like that. Sometimes I do have to squeeze it though. There comes, oops, see what I mean? I always make a mess because I end up squeezing too hard. That's all right. I'll just dip my brush in that and just paint right over on my leaves. Now when you're doing this, you want to just go quickly. You don't want to rub this brush around too much on top of that color because you're going to end up moving the color on those leaves if you do. And that is not what you want to accomplish because you've already done your watercoloring. So just quickly dab some of that glimmer on top of those leaves. Pretty, I love it. All right, so I'm going to turn this over. Even though that's damp, it'll be okay. I'm going to run a strip of snail right there and right there. And now I'm going to grab my ribbon. So you kind of have to think about this backwards. If I flip my paper over, I know that my bow is going to be on the left side, but when it's face down, I know that my bow or my knot is going to be on the right side. So that tells me that I want a little bit shorter piece of ribbon over on my right side when I'm looking at the back. So, I'm going to turn this out and get rid of it for a minute. So that when I flip it back over, the length of my ribbon is over here, and I can determine how much I'm going to need. I'm going to put a little bit of snail right there on the front of my card, stick that ribbon down in there. Ooh, getting tangled up. Bring this over, and then I'm just going to cut this off. That probably went off camera, sorry. I just cut that top piece here, even with the piece over here. Now, let me show you just a little bit of a trick here, and I think I forgot to bring my glue dots over here. I did. Let me grab them. So what you want to do now, this is something that'll be beneficial to you, is when you're trying to tie a knot or a bow or whatever it is, I've just got a little glue dot right there. I've done my first portion of my knot, and I'm just going to slide that glue dot right underneath it. That's going to help hold my ribbon in place so that I can complete tying this into a square knot. Just makes it a lot easier for you to be able to tie if you have a little bit of adhesive helping you out. There we go, got that tied. I'm just going to snip those off short. And you can always, which I do a lot of the time, pretty much most of the time, put another glue dot under there just to make sure that it stays put. Now this I'm going to pop up on some dimensionals. So I'm going to use 5, 1 in the middle, in the center, 2 at the top, 2 at the bottom. So I'm going to just put this into place right here, and basically what I'm doing is I am making it land so that there is an equal border on this side as well as the top and the bottom. I've already added some adhesive to my card base. I'm going to stick my watercolor paper on top. And our outside of our Mother's Day card is complete. Now, if you want to stamp on the inside, you certainly can. What I'm going to do is just take my flower and I'm going to stamp off once because I don't want it too dark. Put that flower in there. If you want to add the leaves, you can do that too. I'm going to stamp this one off twice, maybe even a third time, because I just want just a hint of those leaves. Then I'm going to be using my, I've been telling y'all that's Old Olive, I'm afraid. It's Pear Pizzazz. I've got it in the list that's in the beginning of the video as well as at the end. So if I say something wrong, just take a look at the list to make sure that I'm not telling you something that's incorrect. Now I've got my Happy Mother's Day. This will go on the inside. Hopefully I can stamp that straight. All right, I did good, didn't I? So here is our Mother's Day cards. So I hope that you enjoyed this tutorial. If you did, I would love for you to give this video a thumbs up and share it with your friends, as well as subscribe to my YouTube channel. Make sure that you run on over to my blog, wallastamping.com, and get the instructions for how to create this card. Let me know what your favorite part of this card is. Is it the stamping? Is it the watercoloring, the matting? What do you love about this card? What would you change about it if you were making it? I love hearing from you guys and seeing what your thoughts are. Don't forget, if you're in need of any of the products that I've used today, you can shop at wallastamping.com/order-SU. Thank you so very much for spending time with me today and allowing me to share this card with you. And I hope you have a great day, and I'll talk to you soon.